WPLG 715, Fireman Kenny's on the air, helping you to stay safe in a world where danger never takes a vacation. On this episode of the Fireman Kenny Show podcast, we talk with Ashley Baggett and Bria Thalacker from Children's Wisconsin about Halloween safety. Welcome back to all 12 of our loyal listeners to another installment of the Fireman Kenny Show podcast. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the Fireman Kenny Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or whatever platform you're listening to the show. For the first time in 666 years, Halloween falls on Friday the 13th. Just make sure you don't have black cats cross your path while you're walking under a ladder. And just remember that Sam, Dean, and Castiel are not around to save you if you run into a vampire, a ghoul, or a leviathan. To make sure you're staying safe this Halloween, we talk with Ashley Baggett and Bria Thalacker from Children's Wisconsin about Halloween safety tips. Before we begin the podcast, we would like to mention our sponsors. For over a century, the National Fire Sprinkler Association has been advocating for a stronger industry and a safer world by promoting fire sprinklers in model codes and legislation. Their mission is simple: to protect lives and property from fire through the widespread acceptance of the fire sprinkler concept. Be sure to follow the National Fire Sprinkler Association on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. You can visit the National Fire Sprinkler Association website, www.nfsa.org. We would also like to thank our friends at Fire Suppression Solutions, distributor of fire suppression products for the fire service and for home use. You can follow Fire Suppression Solutions on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Now a word from Fire Suppression Solutions.
Fire can strike without warning, leaving you with precious little time to react. And if you are not prepared, the damage can be devastating to life and property. In the blink of an eye, your home or business could be on fire, with flames doubling in size every 30 seconds, leaving you helpless and unable to respond. Don't let this nightmare become a reality. That starts with being prepared. Our fire suppression products are designed to equip you with an effective response to any fire emergency, all while limiting additional damage, making you the true first responder, giving you the peace of mind that you have what you need to keep your loved ones and property safe until more help comes. Do you have a plan to respond to a fire emergency at your home or business? Protect your family, pets, and property with the tools from Fire Suppression Solutions. Contact us today and finish putting your plan into effect before it's too late.
For more information on Fire Suppression Solutions products, you can visit firess.us. Welcome back to all 12 of our loyal listeners to another installment of the Fireman Kenny Show podcast. October has been declared Halloween Safety Month. With us are Ashley Baggett and Bria Thalacker from Children's Wisconsin. Ashley and Bria, welcome to the show.
Hey everyone, I'm Ashley Baggett from Children's Wisconsin. I'm a program manager here, and I lead our Safe Kids Southeast Wisconsin program and our teen driving program.
Hi Kenny, thank you for having us. My name is Bria Thalacker, and I'm a program coordinator for Children's Wisconsin's teen driving program.
So I'd like to thank Ashley and Bria, who are both friends of the show. They've been on a number of times before. And on this month's episode, talking about Halloween safety, things dealing with costumes, decorations, and trick-or-treating. So we just want to define the issue. So any words on the issue of Halloween safety?
Yeah, Halloween safety is very important, and it's something that people may not always think about when they're getting ready to celebrate the holiday. You know, it's very important to think about the costumes you're picking out, and when you're walking, and the time of day, and being dark, as well as, you know, some of the trip hazards that there might be. Those are just some of the things to think about when you're getting ready for the holiday.
Because the name of the show is the Fireman Kenny Show, of course, we're going to start out with some fire issues when it comes to Halloween safety. According to the U.S. Fire Administration, for each year from 2017 to 2019, an estimated average of 9,200 fires were reported to fire departments in the United States over a 3-day period around Halloween. These fires caused an estimated annual average of 25 deaths, 100 injuries, and $117 million in property loss.
Loss measures for Halloween and non-Halloween fires. The average number of fatalities per 1,000 Halloween fires was slightly higher than the same loss measures for all other fires, while the average number of injuries per 1,000 Halloween fires was lower than for all the other fires. The average dollar loss per Halloween fire was also higher than per non-Halloween fire.
So when we take a look at Halloween fires by general property type, in terms of numbers, the largest general property category was outside fires at 34%, followed closely by residential fires at 33%. Residential Halloween fires, however, resulted in more deaths at 45% and 83% injuries, and dollar loss at 42% when compared to other property types.
You may be wondering at what time of day these fires are occurring. Halloween fires occurred most frequently in the afternoon and early evening hours, peaking from 6 to 7 p.m. Fires then declined, reaching the lowest point during the early morning from 3 to 6 a.m.
So what is causing these fires? Well, the leading cause of residential Halloween fires were cooking at 49%, heating at 12%, other unintentional and careless actions at around 8%, and electric malfunctions also at 8%.
One of the other things we have to talk about are home fires caused by decorations. So from 2019 to 2023, there was an average of 832 home structure fires that began with decorations per year. These fires caused an annual average of 3 civilian fire deaths, 28 civilian fire injuries, and $17 million in direct property damage. Nearly half, about 47%, of these fires occurred because the decorations were too close to a heat source, such as a candle or hot equipment. Approximately 1/3 of these fires were started by candles. Since you two are both dual role working for Children's Wisconsin and Safe Kids of Wisconsin, we want to bring up intoxicated driving and the issues on Halloween. So what are some of the statistics when it comes to the drunk driving problems on Halloween?
Well, when we take a look at drunk driving, we often think of these crashes peaking during certain holidays such as the 4th of July or New Year's Eve, but Halloween is actually another time where these impaired driving crashes are increasing. So taking a look at just general impaired driving crashes, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, in 2019, one person was killed every 52 minutes in a drunk driving car crash. And taking a look at Halloween from 2015 and to 2019, between 6 p.m. on October 31st and 6 a.m. on November 1st, 126 people were killed in drunk driving related crashes. On Halloween night from 2015 through 2019, 40% of people killed in car crashes involved at least one intoxicated driver. Also, 21 vehicle occupants were killed in drunk driving related crashes on Halloween in 2019 alone. Adults between the ages of 21 and 34 had the highest rate of drunk driving related accidents and fatalities at 62%. And 21% of male drivers involved in fatal car crashes in 2019 were intoxicated, as well as 14% of female drivers.
So we've established that drunk driving seems to be a problem during Halloween. So there's a number of other things that can send children and adults to the emergency room causing injuries, because there are thousands of people that go to the emergency room every year for injuries related to holiday activities like pumpkin carving, costumes, allergies, and trick-or-treat incidents. What are some of these issues that are being dealt with during Halloween for injuries?
So allergies may be something you not necessarily think about with Halloween candy, but it's important to make sure that you're checking your kids' candy for many reasons before they dive into eating it. Kids can get really excited with all that candy that they just brought in, but it's important to check the labels because a lot of times kids may have food allergies and there's ingredients in there that we have to watch out for. A recent study from the Canadian Medical Association Journal found that allergy-related emergency room visits increased on Halloween. With no surprise, peanut-triggered anaphylaxis increased to 85% on Halloween. Allergies for other tree nuts jumped to 60% on Halloween. Under normal circumstances, nut allergies can be potentially fatal and result in over 30,000 visits to the ER annually. Failure to read food labels or receiving candy and other treats that have not been individually labeled or homemade increases this risk. Halloween costumes are another thing to think about while preventing injuries. Halloween costumes can cause injuries when they don't fit properly. Baggy or long costumes are a tripping hazard. The material for costumes can also increase fire hazard. Masks can decrease the visibility, which can also increase the risk of tripping, falling, or involvement in pedestrian-related car crashes.
So we've covered issues with allergies and costumes. Let's talk about some of the issues that we could have with decorations.
Halloween decorations often involve ladders and obstacles on the steps or porch that can lead to trip and fall injuries. Decorations can significantly influence the risk of trip and fall accidents, particularly when things like jack-o'-lanterns are located along crowded porch steps. Decorations like pumpkins also increase the risk of fires, especially when pumpkins have been carved and have candles inside them. Many people who decorate their homes don't necessarily clear away all flammable material from nearby and are more likely to leave decorations unattended.
So what do these accidents look like? Well, 3,200 people go to the emergency department every year on Halloween for injuries. 55% of those emergency room visits are related to pumpkin carving accidents. And 25% of emergency room visits are related to people tripping on costumes or falling while setting up decorations. In addition, 20% of those injuries are related to miscellaneous things such as injuries from pumpkins, injuries related to costumes, ingesting something harmful, or allergies.
Let's take a look at some of the demographics of people who are getting injured. 54% of people who visited emergency rooms for accidents on Halloween were adults. 46% of people who visited emergency rooms for injuries on Halloween were under the age of 18. Of those under the age of 18, 10% were 6 or younger.
So, Bria, we have some really surprising statistics when it comes to trick-or-treating. Why don't we talk about some of the trick-or-treating statistics that you have?
Yeah, Kenny, something that always shocks me and shocks other people when I tell them is that 70% of adults do not accompany their children when they are trick-or-treating. Also, 63% of children trick-or-treat in the dark without a flashlight or anything to improve their visibility. Another very shocking fact is that 86% of adults will bring alcohol to Halloween parties even if children are present, which increases their risk for intoxication and drunk driving.
One of the most popular activities for families during Halloween is pumpkin carving. Let's talk about some of the dangers that are faced when families are making jack-o'-lanterns.
Children are often involved in family pumpkin carving, but pumpkins are typically so large with dense outer flesh that specialized pumpkin carving knives are used. Dull knives or inadequate pressure can lead to high rates of hand injuries. So what do those injuries look like? 87.6% of all injuries related to pumpkin carving affect the hand. Also, 33.5% of pumpkin carving knife injuries affect the thumb. 25% of all knife-related pumpkin carving injuries affect the index finger.
Thanks for that, Ashley, because you're giving great stats at what body parts are affected during these pumpkin carving accidents. So who are these pumpkin carving accidents happening to?
Yeah, Kenny. 31.5% of all pumpkin-related and carving injuries were sustained by children between the age of 10 and 19. 19.5% of all pumpkin-related and carving injuries were sustained by children under the age of 10. So let's take a look at the statistics between men and women now. 51.6% of pumpkin carving injuries were sustained by men, and 48.4% of pumpkin carving injuries were sustained by women.
And that is actually kind of surprising because usually it's the men that are more careless. And usually in statistics with these kind of injuries, it's usually the men who are suffering more injuries than women. So since we've established who the injuries are occurring to, let's talk about when these injuries are occurring.
With no surprise, 16.5% of emergency room visits for pumpkin carving accidents took place on Saturdays. 23.3% of emergency room visits for pumpkin carving accidents took place on Sundays. You may be wondering what months these accidents may be happening during. 83.5% of pumpkin carving injuries happen in October, and 11.2% of these injuries happen in November. 45.6% of pumpkin carving accidents happen in the last week of October, which is the highest week of the season. And October 30th has the highest rate of injury out of each day in autumn.
Since the Fireman Kenny Show podcast is dealing with community risk reduction efforts, we have prevention strategies, and Safe Kids has a number of tips. So let's start with the Safe Kids safety tips when it comes to walking safely.
Yeah, so pedestrian safety is one of the most important topics when we're discussing that trick-or-treating or heading outside for the kids to get their candy. So it's really important that parents and adults are having important conversations with their children about how to stay safe. So how can they stay safe as pedestrians? It's important to cross the street at corners, always use traffic signals and crosswalks. Teach children to look left, right, and left again before crossing the street, and keep looking as they continue to cross. Both pedestrians and drivers must always put down electronic devices and stay focused on the road. Always keep your head up and don't run across the street. Parents should also teach children to make eye contact with drivers before crossing in front of them. Also, it's always important to walk on sidewalks or paths, and if there are no sidewalks, make sure to walk facing traffic and as far to the left as possible. Children should walk on direct routes with the fewest street crossings possible. It's also important to watch for cars that are turning or backing up. Especially when crossing through a driveway, make sure you're conscious of if a car in the driveway is starting to make a move to back up. Teach children to never dart out onto the street or cross between parked cars, as it may make them more difficult to see for drivers, especially in the dark. Always accompany kids under the age of 12 for trick-or-treating. And if the kids are mature enough to be out without supervision, tell them to stick to familiar areas that are well lit and also stick within their trick-or-treating group.
Thanks for that, Bria. So we have a number of issues with costumes when it comes to Halloween safety, whether it's visibility issues or flammability issues. Let's talk about some of the issues dealing with costume safety.
Visibility is very important in preventing injuries on Halloween. Make sure to decorate costumes and bags with reflective tape or stickers, and if possible, always choose light colors. You also want to make sure that kids carry glow sticks or flashlights to help them see and be seen by drivers. Choose face paint and makeup whenever possible instead of masks because they can obstruct a child's vision. When selecting a costume, make sure it's the right size to prevent trips and falls.
With kids out trick-or-treating and all the other things that go on during Halloween with Halloween parties, and especially like, let's say, areas around college campuses like UW-Madison, we have the drivers out there who have to take extra precautions. Let's talk about what drivers can do to be extra safe on Halloween.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that drivers can always do is slow down, follow the speed limits, and be alert in residential neighborhoods. Children are excited on Halloween, and they may be moving in unpredictable ways or darting from behind parked cars. Take extra time to look for kids at intersections, on medians, and on curbs. Enter and exit driveways and alleys slowly and carefully. And don't rely on your backup cameras to see everything that may be behind your vehicle. We recommend you get out of your vehicle and take a look at what's behind your car before backing out. Get rid of any distractions such as your phone, food, or makeup in your car so you can concentrate on the road and see all of your surroundings. Be sure to turn your headlights on earlier in the day to help you see children from greater distances. Popular trick-or-treating hours are typically around 5:30 to 9:30 p.m., so be especially alert for kids during these hours. And parents of teen drivers, make sure to remind your teen that there are going to be more children on the road during Halloween, and remind them to be extra cautious during the holiday season.
And Bria, you talked earlier about the drunk driving statistics. Why don't we talk about some prevention strategies for drunk driving?
Absolutely. It's essential that you plan ahead during the holiday season. If you are planning to drink alcohol or partake in any substances, it's essential that you have a designated driver or another option such as a taxi or a ride share to make sure that you get home safely. If you see an impaired driver on the road, you can call your local law enforcement to deal with the impaired driver in your neighborhood.
And of course, this being the Fireman Kenny Show dealing with fire issues, We want to talk about fire prevention strategies, and the National Fire Protection Association has a number of great fire safety tips. So Ashley, why don't we talk about those fire safety tips?
Yeah, so glow sticks or battery-operated candles are great for jack-o'-lanterns and other Halloween decorations. When choosing costumes, stay away from long trailing fabrics that could get close to a heat source and catch on fire. Make sure to provide children with flashlights to carry for lighting or glow sticks as part of their costume. This helps with visibility. Teach children to stay away from open flames, including jack-o'-lanterns with candles in them. Keep Halloween decorations away from open flames and other heat sources, such as light bulbs and heaters. You want to make sure to remember to keep exits clear of decorations so nothing blocks escape routes. Make sure all smoke alarms are working.
Yeah, those are great points, Ashley, because a number of people will decorate their doors and hide the egress areas. So if a fire starts, people will not be able to find the exit. And when we're talking about smoke alarms, make sure to have a smoke alarm inside each bedroom, outside the sleeping areas, and on every level of your home. So this has been a really great discussion, and as usual with Ashley and Bria, things go really well when we're recording, and they have a lot of great statistics and are really good with being on the show. So Bria and Ashley, do you have any final thoughts for our 12 loyal listeners?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us, Kenny, to talk about this very important safety topic. I just want to remind listeners, one of the best ways to help keep everyone safe during the Halloween season is to be alert and attentive behind the wheel. Put down all distractions, always watch for pedestrians, and never drive impaired.
Thanks for having us today, Kenny. I want everyone to remember that while preparing for Halloween this year, visibility is important for trick-or-treaters and drivers. When it comes to costumes, they can be a risk for tripping and falling, they can prevent kids from being able to see, and they can also catch on fire. Make sure to check all of the Halloween candy that can adversely trigger allergies for kids, and make sure that it's safe for them to consume. Last, while you're decorating, be aware of tripping hazards and fire hazards to prevent those injuries in kids.
We would like to thank Ashley Baggett and Bria Thalacker from Children's Wisconsin for their talk about Halloween safety. For more information, you can visit safekids.org/Halloween. Join us on our next episode when we talk with Slinger Fire Department Captain Tim Roskoff about School Bus Safety Week. WPLG 715, Fireman Kenny is returning to quarters.
They answer the call to be there for you whenever needed. Sherwin Industries proudly salutes our first responders. Here's another important message on Jammin' 98.3.
I'm firefighter paramedic Luke Stengel with the New Berlin Fire Department. The National Safety Council reports over 100 deaths and 13,000 injuries related to school buses in 2019. Please, always remember, come to a complete stop when the school bus displays red flashing lights. Never pass a school bus from behind if it is stopped to load or unload children. Slow down in school zones where children are present, and be alert. Following these safety tips will help keep our children safe from school bus-related accidents during the school year.
Jammin' 98.3 and Sherwin Industries are proud to salute our first responders. Get more information and links to first responders throughout Southeast Wisconsin online now at jammin983.com.